Is there something you need, detective?
Tell me about your true relationship with the Countess.
She helped me at the shelter, and with this job.
That I am already aware of. What I am not is what else
What
she
else?
tasks you with.
Pardon, detective?
I know that your position as a servant in this house is not your only job. What did Countess de Vos ask you to do while in this house?
She said I had to do what she asked, or I would be back on the street. I didn't want to do it. If anyone found out, I would be the prime suspect.
Madame van den Bosch would have been aware of young Igny's past, and she is worried that they would accuse her. What was asked of her must be related to her past life as a thief.
Merci, mademoiselle. This will not get me any closer to my goal.
Wow.
Another
That is what's
success.
connected. He's admitted that her work in the house is not wholly honest. Assisting with thefts. Lost
Things
the
are
key.
beginning to...
Thought it was irresponsible of Archibald to lose his key, but now its disappearance makes sense. And now we ask
Is
her
there
again.
something you need, detective?
What was it that the Countess asked you to steal from the
Nothing.
house?
She said I was to take nothing.
If it was not something she wished you to take, what was it?
She wanted me to find out information about the family and Monsieur Hagen.
Why did she request that?
At first I didn't know, but when I heard about Mademoiselle Angeline being blackmailed, and then the Major, I knew she had used what I found.
Perhaps my suspicions of Monsieur Sterling's involvement with the Major's safe were incorrect, and his key was not lost but stolen.
I knew Monsieur Archie had a key, and it would be easy to get it from him.
You knew that the Major asked Monsieur Sterling to access the safe from time to time, and if anything was ever discovered missing, he would surely take the blame.
I never took anything. I only told the Comtesse what I had found.
And that was?
About Monsieur Hagen and the Madame's relationship, and Angeline.
I'm sure the Countess was pleased to hear such valuable information.
She said I had done a good job, but I needed proof. That's why I went back and got the letters last night.
So it was young Igny that beat Madame van der Bosch to the safe last night. But why would they be left in such a precarious fashion?
I fetched the letters again and took them to the Comtesse last night. But she shouted at me and said what a stupid girl I was.
You were only doing as she requested.
She said it was too dangerous for her to have them with you around. That's when I returned them to the study. I thought I heard someone on the stairs, so I just threw them back. It was dark as I dared not turn the light on. Someone would have seen it.
Trying to slot a key into a lock in the dark is no easy feat. That would explain the scratches on the safe. If Madame van den Bosch had only tried to retrieve the letter minutes earlier, she would have surely crossed paths with Igny.
Merci, mademoiselle.
Involvement?
I must
Safe
take
access?
a different approach if
Ow. Stole the key, access
the
the
pieces
safe.
of the puzzle are fine.
Wonder how many secrets this house holds for Igny to find. Trying to uncover secrets? Igny knows of the
What
hidden
a
room.
revelation!
If there is somewhere in this house where a secret lies, it surely would be found in the hidden room. Find out anything and everything she could about the family, while the Comtesse need not even get her hands dirty. Complete.
Is there something you need, detective?
What else
That's
have you
all.
relayed?
I swear. I heard Monsieur Archie and Monsieur Felix talking about a storeroom, but I haven't found it.
Is the Countess aware of this room?
I told her it was somewhere in the house, but I didn't know where. She wasn't happy with me that I hadn't found it yet.
I believe if young Eden knew the location of the secret store, she would have been forthcoming with it. It may be naive on my part, but she has already incriminated herself and has nothing else to lose.
Merci, mademoiselle. Your honesty today has helped me greatly.
I suppose that I will lose my position at the house now.
That is not my decision to make. But when the whole truth is revealed, it will not be the pawns the law looks to convict. We shall be coming for the queen.
Chess reference. Investigate the blackmail. Well, the blackmail was done by the Comtesse.
Magnifique.
Such a calculating web of lies and secrets. What motive could possibly justify just such devious actions? Finally, I have unmasked the blackmailer. Mademoiselle Angeline and the other recipients of such letters may no longer live in fear. Comtesse de Vos shall pay for her crimes. She is the blackmailer, but is she the murderer? It's not in her style. We still have the murder, but I already have a suspicion on that.
Mademoiselle, merci for coming.
Have you had a breakthrough, detective?
I have. Finally, I have the news you have awaited.
Please, detective, don't hold me in suspense.
I have finally uncovered the identity of the one holding the Vandenbosch name to ransom.
Oh my! I feel faint at the thought of knowing who could have done this to us.
It is said to keep your friends close, but your enemies closer. It is Comtesse de Vos that is behind the letters.
I don't believe it. What about the Major's letter?
Not only his, but a letter to Monsieur da Silva.
She was blackmailing him as well? Detective, I just don't know what to say.
Take a moment, mademoiselle. It is a lot of information to take in.
I just don't understand why she would do such a cruel thing.
What do you know of young Igny's past?
She has never been particularly forthcoming with it. Only that she was homeless for some time and that she was at the women's shelter before here.
And it is there that the Comtesse abused her power and manipulated her to uncover secrets of the family.
All this time she has been working for Margot, doing her dirty work.
Ah, someone finally said the name, Margot. So the X is silent.
I am afraid so, mademoiselle.
Mademoiselle is in a state of shock. To learn that such a close friend of the family has betrayed them in such a cruel way, it must be devastating.
Is Maman aware?
You are the first I have told, mademoiselle. Next will be the authorities.
I'm afraid that we'll have to wait.
S'il te plaît, mademoiselle, we must go through the correct channels.
And we will. I want to see her punished to the fullest extent of the law. But we cannot telephone anyone, as the lines are still down.
Monsieur Archibald informed me earlier. I had hoped they would be working again. Last night's snow must have caused more damage than expected.
Last night? They have been done all weekend, Detective. Detective? Are you okay?
How could I have been such a fool? I saw Monsieur Sterling talk on the telephone, but I heard no ring.
Detective Poirot?
It was all a lie. A scene acted out for my benefit to throw me off the scent. If I believed that the Major was still alive at that time, I had no reason to investigate anyone's whereabouts beforehand. Anyone being Mr. Sterling and his staff.
Would you like me to fetch you a glass of water, Detective?
My apologies, mademoiselle. I was taken by surprise for a moment, but I have regained my composure. A glass of water is not required. Would you excuse me? Merci, mademoiselle.
And now we come to understand things. Chapter 7. The Family. My patience has grown thin. The guests and the staff of this house think it is acceptable to lie to my face when questioned and obstruct my investigation. But no more! We shall see how Monsieur Sterling and his staff fare under some pressure. Now, Hercule Poirot is angry. I have been lied to for the last time. My suspicions initially led me to the guests, but now they are firmly placed on the staff. Mr. Sterling and Mademoiselle Rihanna cannot hide behind their lies any longer. Apologies, I am somewhat getting into character based on how I have seen him portrayed in the extremely long Masterpiece series. Dig deeper into Archibald and Rihanna's suspicious actions. And away we go. First floor hall. Oh my gosh, those eyes. It looks like Elizabeth is on her way to see me, but it's such a late hour.
Mademoiselle, what a pleasure to see you.
Detective,
It is a rather late hour to be wandering the halls.
Oh, yes. Of course. I do not feel myself, Detective.
If that is the case, you should be resting. Allow me to help.
No, that's quite all right. I will see to my duties and return to bed.
Lizzie, excuse me, Elizabeth. Lady Van den Bosch has been waiting for some time now.
Oh, yes. Sorry. Detective Poirot was just...
I'll see to the detective. You just head on up. Off you go.
Good night, Detective.
The need to control exactly what was going on.
Bonne nuit, mademoiselle.
I suspect Elizabeth was coming to inform us what we had already come to the conclusion of. Mademoiselle Elizabeth is certainly not herself. I thought the death of the Major had brought up uncomfortable memories of beloved Luke, but it may be something else. And now to tear into the good
Sorry
butler.
about her, Detective. As you can see, she is still not back to her usual bubbly self.
This weekend seems to have taken quite a toll on her.
She'll be right as rain in a couple of days. Now, what can I help you with?
As if by magic you appeared when needed. I would like to speak with you and the remaining staff. If you could gather them in the staff pantry.
At this hour, Detective? Is that really necessary?
I shall be the one that determines what is and what is not necessary, and this is very much the former.
As you wish, Detective. I'll see if Inge has finished preparing for breakfast.
And Mademoiselle Rihanna?
Yes, of course. I'll fetch her from the kitchen. Elizabeth may be some time with the lady of the house. Perhaps you'd like to start with us?
Very well. I shall speak with Mademoiselle Elizabeth when her duties are complete.
While I am gathering the staff, Mr. Beckers is in the library. If you wish to join him, I could bring you both a nightcap.
I wish to keep a clear head, but there is something I wish to discuss with Monsieur Beckers.
This is my opportunity to confront Monsieur Beckers about his dealings, or lack thereof, with Monsieur de Silva without being disturbed. Pardon for the scrapings and scramblings. There's people working on the roof of the house replacing the air conditioning unit. Presuming you can hear it at all. I have done my best to ignore it.
Monsieur Beckers, it is rather late. The other guests have already retired to their rooms.
I didn't even see the time. It's easy to lose oneself in a library this impressive.
That is something we can agree on, monsieur.
I suppose I should be heading?
A moment, monsieur. There are some matters that we must discuss.
Oh, what is it, Detective?
I did not realize your relationship with Mademoiselle Conrad was so business-oriented.
I'm not sure what you mean.
Her proposal to make you somewhat of a star, a figurehead for the working man, what would you call that?
There was certainly no talk of making me a star. That is not the type of man I am. She wanted to write a piece on my work with the union, and I was happy to oblige.
Mr. Beckers has always appeared to have the workers' intentions at the forefront of his decisions, but perhaps the thought of being remembered for something great was too much for him to pass up.
My speech? I'm not sure what speech.
You may save your false ramblings for your next audience. I am aware you spoke with the Major yesterday.
Whoever told you that has it wrong, Detective.
Please, monsieur. The truth.
Okay, fine. Yes, the Major and I spoke, but it was not for long.
What was the manner of your conversation? From what I understand, it was not a light-hearted chat.
I was trying to convince him to speak with Ernesto. It's time we brought the strikes to an end.
And that was best approached by a shouting match?
He wouldn't listen to what I said. I spent so long preparing how I was going to convince him, but men like him are only swayed by one thing: money.
Monsieur Beckers is not wrong. Had he tried to grease the Major's palm, perhaps he would have been more successful.
It is said that money is the root of all evil, but it can also be a rather powerful bargaining chip.
That saying is ironically false. Money in and of itself is merely an object we have placed value upon. It is the love of money that is the root of all evil.
Well, he was bargaining with people's lives. If he had acted sooner, none of those men, my men, would have to die.
The Major oversaw security at the factories. Could he have done more to stop the strikes turning violent? I understand Monsieur de Silva had prepared a deal.
A deal? It was an insult.
And that is why you did not sign it?
I didn't sign it because the workers deserve so much more, not his pathetic attempts to get them back to work.
Did you think there was a chance for a better deal to be made?
I know there was. He's a pompous swine that cares for only himself and filling his pockets.
I'm sure I have heard the description of Monsieur de Silva before, or at least something similar. Huh.
Mademoiselle Conrad can be quite convincing, can she not?
She has certainly taken several wealthy business partners by surprise with her knowledge and prowess. She knows how to use her womanly powers to get what she wants.
But she did not surprise or use you?
Me? Use me? Don't be ridiculous, Detective. There were no games played at my expense.
Monsieur Beckers has quite a way with words and is a fan of his own voice. Perhaps I should allow him the opportunity to speak and open up without too much interruption or forcefulness.
No, she just reminded me of what I was fighting for.
You claim that you refused Monsieur de Silva's deal as it was not adequate for your men?
And I stand by that. It was an insult.
A rather bold move to make such a decision on your own.
Your job is to support the workers, but nothing you have done has got them any closer to the results you promised.
I may not be perfect, but I've done everything I can.
Your efforts fell short in every respect. You claim to be the voice of the people, but you care about no one's voice or benefits but your own.
It's not as easy as just signing a piece of paper, Detective. It is a heavy weight to bear on one's shoulders. I consulted with others.
How?
You yourself spoke of Mademoiselle Conrad's cunning in business.
And I told you, I was not one of her targets.
Tell me then, what was it she reminded you of? The acclaimed man of the people you would be known as if you pushed the factory owners for more?
It wasn't like that at all.
From where I am standing, it was she that was manipulating the terms of the deal, and you in the process. You were merely her pawn.
Okay, yes, I know. I shouldn't have listened to her. But what else could I do? Remain an unknown my whole life? I didn't mean for anyone to get hurt.
It may not have been your intention, but we both know the result. You rolled the dice with those men's lives for fame, and you lost.
What does that have to do with anything?
I have often wondered about the competition siblings face in a large family.
When you're young, it is the best feeling to know you have family that will stand by you, without even being asked. It is not until everyone starts carving their own path that you realize you're walking yours solo, and those that were beside you are now miles away. My older brothers were the athletes of the family. They both played soccer,
Ha!
and were the infatuation of
It
every
would have been
teenage
football.
girl. I'm sure you've seen the type.
He would have called it football, not soccer.
Oui, monsieur, but I can assure you that was not I.
Then there was me. Quiet, timid, a shadow of the Baker brothers. My voice and very presence was forgotten and ignored. Nothing I could say or do would ever reach the bar they had set. But I always knew I was destined for great things. Years passed, and now that I no longer stood in the colossal ombre of my brothers, I could become my own man. When the position of union leader was posted, it was my chance to finally be heard. You hear politicians speak of the little or the common man? Well, that was me. And I knew what we wanted and what we needed. When I spoke, others listened. I held their gaze with a sense of pride, a sense that what I was doing was for the greater good.
Dangerous phrase.
It was supposed to be my crowning achievement, lead the men to victory over the money-grabbing oppressors. But instead, all I did was lead them to their deaths.
Such is the fate of everyone who supports communism.
Monsieur, it was not at your hands that these men died. The blame cannot lie solely on your shoulders. Those responsible will be punished for their crimes. That you must trust.
Monsieur Becker's story is one of fighting to have one's voice heard, be it a single or one of the masses. I'm afraid he may be remembered for what he did, but not in the way he so hoped. That finishes off his storyline, but it is irrelevant to the plot at hand. While speaking with Sir Beckers was not the reason for me being up at this hour, he was able to fill in some of the blanks regarding the Major, but not in getting any closer to discovering his killer, perhaps. Perhaps the staff living quarters will. Curious that they have not gathered in the pantry as Hercule has had more or less commanded them. New room. Search everything. Logs. A decent supply of logs. I just hope the staff also get to make use of them in this weather. Newspaper. A few days old, and do not hold a candle as to what has transpired here this weekend. Another cupboard. There's not just to be anything of interest in here. A hammock. I'm glad I'm a guest of the house. I'm not sure how well I would sleep in such a contraption. Luggage.
Huh.
A war medal that I assume must belong to the Major. Abandoned clothes. A rather luxurious jacket. The initials read F.H. Felix Hagen. Are these scruffy boots his as well? Why would they be left here, though? The items I have found are most intriguing and require an explanation that I believe only the staff can give. I shall meet them in the pantry.
Detective, what can we do for you?
You can help me by telling the truth, and in the process, help yourselves.
Sorry, Detective. It's a bit late in the night for riddles.
It is no riddle, monsieur. If I do not receive the truth, you shall all be charged as accessories to murder.
Detective, I think maybe you have been locked in this house for too long. We have already...
You have told me a version, and now I require honesty.
Firstly, let us check and see. Good, we've already found 2 connections just from the things in the... Ooh. In the abandoned items.
I cannot see the logic in this. Things are beginning to become clearer.
The Major would not have left such a fine coat in the staff area. Someone must have worn it. More importantly, however, who wore the Major's clothes? Would it be the same?
Is there something I am...
Or, oops, I would have gone.
Order and method.
Nope.
Come, my little grey cells. I must act on thought and...
Okay, yeah.
I
I'm
should
down
not
with
be
that.
surprised by my own skills of deduction.
The theory that the Major had been killed during dinner was nothing but a ruse. Why are the staff covering the real time of death? Well, the cover... Oh, there's no more. Well, they're covering it because they did it, because they found out. Who to speak with first? Has to be Archibald.
Monsieur Sterling, is there anything you would like to add to your story?
I'm not sure what you think I have done, Detective.
Let us not string out this charade any longer.
From his associate. I've already told you, Detective. I don't know who it was.
Do not worry yourself on such details now. I suppose they were lucky to have called when they did. Otherwise, they may not have gotten through at all, with the telephone lines being down as of yesterday.
Aye, Detective. Lucky, I guess.
Mr. Sterling is no fool. I believe he is aware I suspect him of something. Perhaps some carefully worded questions are all that are needed for him to slip up.
Whiskey?
You took a bottle of whiskey to the Major. You spoke with Monsieur Demire en route.
Aye, of course. It was a bottle he picked up from his last visit to Scotland. Rather smoky number from the Highlands. He was saving it for a worthy occasion. Drowning his sorrows must have been fitting enough.
At first, he does not remember a bottle at all, and as if by magic, he recalls the exact details.
Or was it the one from the West Coast? You'll have to excuse my memory, Detective. It's not what it used to be. Oh, you found it. Thank you, Detective. I've been looking everywhere for it.
If I had lost a war medal, I would not stop until I found it.
It's not what you think. I was...
Exploiting a dead man's military achievements for your own personal gain?
Nothing of the sort. He asked me to clean them up. I must have dropped it into my pocket when I was putting them back. An honest mistake.
Never have I heard such a pathetic excuse to explain a stolen item in one's possession. I would expect a better lie from an infant. I cannot claim to be an expert, but I would presume a medal like that would be of quite some value.
I wouldn't know. Probably.
Your father was in the military for many years. That is what you told me.
He was.
And your family still keep his medals?
They were sold.
And why was that, monsieur?
Is my family on trial now, Detective?
Only you, monsieur. And I repeat my question.
Because we needed money.
Voila.
Mr. Sterling was well aware of the medal's value when it found its way into his belongings.
No, he keeps them safe with some of his old military documentation.
Is that a typical job for the head butler?
He trusts me to do a good job. I told him I used to clean my father's, so he asked me to do the same.
And where does he keep these items?
In the storage room. I know where everything is, so it's just easier if I fetch them for him as and when he needs them.
I do not recall seeing any military memorabilia or keepsakes when I was in the storage room. Could there be another storage room he speaks of? Are you happy here at the Van de Bosch house?
It's certainly better than my last.
You are paid a fitting wage for the work that is asked of you?
I'm sure the lady of the house would not want me discussing it, but I should not complain.
That is not the most convincing answer, monsieur.
Between you and I, we all work very hard here, and it would be nice if we were rewarded for it.
It seems Monsieur Sterling is trying to convince me, as he has himself, that his light-fingered actions are justifiable due to the pittance wage he receives for his honest work.
Please don't go anywhere. If I require more information, I shall call on you again.
Just the one.
This will not get me any closer to my... Order and method. Is there something I am...
Madame pays the staff very little. How does that connect to the worn-out boots?
Another success.
I should have known at first glance these belonged to a member of the staff, but who? Oh, they are staff boots. Okay, I guess. And where do these connect? Here, perhaps? Or perhaps here?
Some would say a lucky guess. I would say a moment of genius.
A staff member dressed in the major's clothes and took his position out in the snow for the guests to see. Why would they do this? A staff member impersonated the major. Yeah, that's going to connect to the covering for the time of death. Next, we should speak to Iggy.
Mademoiselle, I shall keep my questions brief.
I don't know what else I can tell you.
You have been honest with me so far. All I request is that you continue to do so.
Oui, detective.
I am already aware of Mademoiselle's involvement with the blackmail, but I'm not sure if she is also connected to the major's murder.
It was frantic in the pantry. We were working hard to make sure everything was up to scratch.
Go on.
Then Liz burst in, asking for Mamore's help.
Her help with what, exactly?
I don't know. She took Liz to one side, and I was needed in the salon. We spoke just after that in the pantry.
You did not question what she needed help with?
I was too busy. I love Liz, but she sheds a tear at almost everything these days. Although, I have never seen her look so pale.
Mademoiselle Elizabeth still looked pale when I saw her earlier. I understand the amount of work that goes into keeping a house of this size running, but Madame cannot expect the staff to work if they are ill. Perhaps Mademoiselle Rihanna can clear up the reason for Elizabeth's panic.
Merci. I shall return if I have any further questions.
Just a quick sweep. Nothing there.
Mademoiselle, I shall be as quick and precise with my questioning as possible.
It was not the butler. He was too busy posing as the major out in the snow.
Okay. What do you need? Merci. He was a good man. Taken too early.
Heh.
Forgive me, mademoiselle, for not extending them earlier, but I was not aware of your relationship.
He was my only brother. And he died doing what he believed was right. If I ever get my hands on who took him from me.
She still does not know. I understand why she is so angry for her brother to be taken from this world since she's engaged in such a violent manner. Violence cannot be met with violence, but I am sure Mademoiselle feels the same. But I am not sure Mademoiselle feels the same.
You say the riots, but it was the strike he was part of. They started the riots, not the workers.
By they, you are referring to the security forces. They were brought in to keep the peace.
Security, huh? They were brought in to make an example of them. It was all peaceful until they arrived.
Why would they need to make an example?
So that the workers would stop rallying. No one is going to go on strike if they think they'll get killed. The security you talk of were armed and ready. The workers were pigs to the slaughter. What chance did they have?
This is the time period before workers' unions were really a strong thing, so there was a strong pushback from business owners against the formation of unions. It is obvious Mademoiselle is still upset about her brother's death, and rightly so. If the events were as Mademoiselle describes, I cannot comprehend how the security forces were able to get away with such despicable acts of violence.
Yes.
This was before or after Archibald took him a bottle of whiskey.
Before.
You are sure?
It may have been after.
The whiskey is kept in the cellar with all the alcohol.
It is.
Then you must have noticed him going into the cellar and returning with a bottle through the pantry, no?
Yes, I suppose I did. It must have been before then.
It took only one question for Mademoiselle to doubt her own story. What I still cannot see is why the need for the lies.
What is there to say? Being locked away in the pantry, I don't see her for most of the day.
Her stepsister.
That may be.
Her sister-in-law.
But she came looking for your help before dinner was served, did she not?
She wasn't feeling well, that's all.
Should be a comma there.
And she came to you.
I told you, we are a family here. The girls come to Mama Reh if they have a problem, and I fix it.
When I saw her earlier, I must admit she was not looking herself. Perhaps I should check on her.
No, just leave the poor girl. She'll be fine after another bowl of my homemade soup. She just needs her rest.
Everything is as I suspect. I am sure Mademoiselle Rihanna is a loving mother figure to the staff while away from their families, but her eagerness to keep me from seeing Mademoiselle Elizabeth again does not sit comfortably.
Merci, mademoiselle.
Let's see. That connects to that.
Some would say a lucky guess. I would say a moment of genius.
How can either of them forget something so important from only the day before?
Things are beginning to become clearer.
Both Archibald and Rihanna played the parts very well. That is, until they became complacent. Why do the staff feel they need to fabricate stories?
I must take a different approach if I am...
Rat.
What a revelation.
There it is. I almost had to relay their stories back to them both. I obviously cannot truth a word they have said. Trust. So many typos this late in the game. Why are the staff hiding the truth from me? Staff are hiding the truth because they're
Magnifique.
involved. It is a revelation I had not expected. The staff were involved in the murder. While young Igni is guilty of her own crimes associated with blackmail, it is Mr. Sterling and members of Rihanna that have been an integral part in covering up and obscuring the truth of how the Major was killed. The staff are already suspicious to begin with, but this confirms their involvement. Are all the staff members involved? Meaning we must... New map unlocked with 3 connections. I am close to revealing the truth of the Major's murder, but I must understand the roles that each and every person involved played before the final puzzle is solved. There are 3 connections here.
The pieces of the puzzle are finally coming together.
I cannot imagine the pain they have felt losing Luke. His memory will live on in their hearts. They're both grieving for Luke.
I cannot see the logic in this.
Elizabeth looked white coming downstairs. Brianna
I
helped.
must act on
Nope.
thought. Come, my little grey cells.
Igni feels disconnected from her peers. She
I
looked
cannot
white.
see the logic in this.
I am seeing multiple blows. I'm confused.
Another success. I
Elizabeth
never
looked
doubted
white
myself.
coming downstairs. The staff were involved. Elizabeth looked pale, and the other members of staff were busy with their duties. She must have found the body, but did she play a part in the murder?
This will not get me any closer to my... I should not be surprised by my own skills of deduction.
Although her duties are primarily focused in the kitchen and the pantry, I do not recall seeing her. Brianna wasn't seen after Elizabeth found the corpse.
Some would say a lucky guess. I would say a moment of genius.
Archibald's acting skills came into play to cover for a member of the staff, but who?
I must take a different approach.
Now, Archibald was covering for a member of staff
Order and
as
method. That I must act on thought and...
I don't. There's so many that they're just like, oh, this, that, this, that.
Another success. I never doubted.
Impersonating the Major was Rihanna's role in the plan. Why it was necessary, I'm not sure of yet. Why did she feel the need to cover for Elizabeth?
Come, my little grey cells.
Well, Archibald was covering.
Magnifique.
The staged phone call was Archibald's assignment. He went to great lengths to protect Elizabeth. Why did he feel the need to cover for Elizabeth?
Is there something I have... The pieces of the puzzle are finally coming together.
I'm confident Igni isn't part of the cover-up that's clearly a focus of the other staff. While young Igni is guilty of her own crimes associated with blackmail, it is Mr. Sterling and Brianna that become integral. This is complete. But we do not know who actually drove the blade in. I must return to my room and place them together until the result reveals itself. It is time for my little grey cells to go to work. I am so close to uncovering the truth. It keeps sounding like someone's right outside my door. Investigate the murder. Rihanna and Archibald were
I should
covering
not
for
be
Elizabeth.
surprised by my own skills of deduction.
How could I have allowed this to slip through my grasp? Elizabeth is the murderer. I cannot believe I did not see it. Blinded by my own trust. When I look back now, the clues were there, staring me in the face. I spent my time chasing connections between the guests. Their motives and agendas were than enough to raise suspicions. But while distracted by them, I failed to notice one absent member of the household. What I cannot grasp is why. I promised myself that after that fateful day in the capital, I would not let my judgment steer me adrift, but once again, it is I left looking the fool. There is nothing more that can be done tonight. I must at least try to rest my head in preparation for confronting Mademoiselle Elizabeth in the morning. Chapter 8. The Truth. One moment. My phone is being dumb. What in the world? Has an elephant escaped and made its way to the second floor? It sounds as though it were coming directly above me. But that is the storage room. The storage room and the secret storage room connected to it, obviously. So many mysteries within mysteries. Curious that the storage room is also next to the Major's room. Why would Monsieur Sterling be in here clattering around in the dead of night? Archibald is up in the middle of the night making some amount of noise. I must find the extent of his behavior. Secreting evidence, of course.
Monsieur Sterling.
Oh, Detective, I was just...
Please, I eagerly await to hear what reason you give for being in the storage room at this hour.
A butler's job is never...
I am no fool, monsieur. You have spun enough stories this weekend.
Honestly, Detective, you don't trust anyone.
No, just you.
And with good reason.
My patience has all but run out. What are you doing in here?
I've been thinking about my time with the family.
I often think on fond memories, but it does not take me to a storage room in the middle of the night.
There are many memories held within these walls. I just wanted to see them again.
Mr. Sterling sounds as though he has plans on leaving the house. It sounded as though you were
I
moving
didn't
furniture.
realize the noise I was making.
Obviously. Were you preoccupied looking for another of the Major's medals?
Of course not. I already explained.
No, monsieur. You attempted to dupe me again into believing one of your stories.
Please, Detective. I know you know how it ended up in my possession. I was just trying to get some extra money together to send home. I can't lose this job. If Lady Van den Bosch found out...
Theft of a medal would be the very least of your problems.
Deceive? I'm sorry that I lied to you about the medal.
Even when confronted, Monsieur Sterling still remains steadfast and refused to acknowledge what he has done.
Would you care to explain the fake telephone call? It was purely for my benefit, no?
Why would I fake a telephone call?
The same reason that Mademoiselle Rihanna dressed in the Major's jacket in the snow, to allow not only the guests but me to believe the Major was still alive.
I didn't kill him, Detective.
I know, monsieur, but I also know that you helped the one that did to cover their tracks.
It wasn't like that. We were just trying to help. She had no part in it.
Both you and Mademoiselle Rihanna risked your freedom to help Elizabeth.
You never let on. How long have you known it was her?
Monsieur, I am Detective Hercule Poirot. I only show my hand when I deem it necessary.
You will be taking her away then.
She will stand trial for what she has done.
But you don't know the full story. She is just a servant in this house. If she is arrested, that will be the end for her.
If Mademoiselle was only protecting herself, as you both have claimed, she will surely be found innocent.
You have still not explained what you were doing in here.
The Major's military store box.
The one that on his medals.
Amongst other things, yes.
And those other things are?
I am a detective. If you found it when Sandra's study, would have carted her in there.
Whatever it is that you have hidden, it would not remain that way for much longer.
It's the knife, the murder weapon. Well, Monsieur Sterling is obviously hiding something. I should perhaps conduct my own search for it instead of relying on his cryptic messages.
I need a moment.
Detached saint carving.
Oh.
See how this area has been cleared.
They are beginning to become clearer.
The detached carving may relate to a door in this room. This would explain Archibald's presence. Secret room accessible within the storage room.
What a revelation!
He has hid the murder items relative to the murder in there. Inspect the storeroom. The clock. This has been slid.
Oh.
Could also be this that moves. Aha. A hidden room. It seems there are more secrets in the house to discover. Obviously the military knife.
Oh.
Whoops. Military service box.
Aha.
Contains letters and keepsakes. Expensive lighter. Looks to have, unfortunately, been through a war. Come, my little Bezos. I believe we already know something about this mystery. Now, another letter. The last will and testament of the late Viscount. It seems he truly loved Angela. Last will and testament. Declaration. I declare that I, Viscount Edwin Vandenbosch, am of sound mind. This last will expresses my wishes without undue influence or duress. Article 1. In the event of my death, I hereby appoint my wife, Cassandra Vandenbosch, as the executor of the Vandenbosch estate. There should be a comma before as. And I leave the remaining wealth held in the Vandenbosch name to my only daughter, Angeline Vandenbosch. Any outstanding debts, expenses of my last illness, funeral expenses, and administrative costs are to be paid from the Vandenbosch account at the National Bank of Belgium. To my daughter Angeline, you are the apple of my eye and the brightest star in the sky. Never allow your light to fade for even a moment. To my wife Cassandra, thank you for the many joyous years. We have laughed, we have loved, and we have brought the most precious of gifts into the world together. I trust that you will protect her and prepare her for a future full of opportunity and hope. Viscount Edwin Vandenbosch, Monsieur Victor Rougier and Petit Solicitors. However, Angeline's not his daughter. And finally, of course, the murder weapon, the military knife.
Huh.
A prestigious-looking knife, likely belonging to the Major. Bloodstains on the military knife.
Another success. I never
Thinking of
doubted
it.
myself.
The murder weapon has been found. Elizabeth must have used this in the study. So it was the maid in the study with the knife.
I should not be surprised by my own skill of deduction.
The lighter must belong to the Major. The army symbol all but confirms this. But don't I already have this in my possession?
Things are beginning to become clearer.
The lighter I found in the military box is certainly the Major's, meaning the other one is not. So the maid in the study with the military knife. Haha.
There is no use lying anymore. He always had this regiment that he received in the war on his person.
And yet, it was not his regiment emblem that was engraved on it.
My father's. It must have fallen out of my pocket. You still have it, Detective.
You have stashed evidence, manipulated a crime scene, obscured my investigation, and yet is a lighter that you worry about most.
If it is my path to end up behind bars for what I have done, so be it. It is Elizabeth you cannot allow to be brought up without the true being told. I have heard how you fought for that young maid for Florette, is it? I only ask that you do the same with Elizabeth.
Although the cases differ greatly in severity, I can envision the similarities in how Mademoiselle Elizabeth will be treated by those in positions of authority or social standing, but even before she is trialed. It is my oath as an officer of the law to uphold justice and fairness. Mademoiselle must be given the chance to prove her innocence before the court, as any other suspect.
You find it.
Even a secret area that had been created here is not considered enough to stop the detective Hercule Poirot.
I couldn't just leave it as the scene for you to find.
The Major was killed by his own knife. And that protected his life during the war would eventually be the one that ended it.
It was in his holster. He attacked her. He had hold of her. What else was she meant to use to get him off of her?
I cannot imagine the Major would have given his knife up easily. She must have been in close proximity to reach it. Perhaps he did attack her as she claims.
She didn't plan any detective. She was only to defend herself.
That is what Mademoiselle told you?
Did, and I believe her. You think you would have been judged, but you had no idea. He was a monster and had more strength than all of us combined.
That may be true, but that does not excuse what she had.
Put yourself in her shoes for it. If a man like that had attacked me the way he did Lizzie, I would have done lots worse to him.
Mademoiselle Elizabeth has told Mr. Sterling a version of the events that suggests she was attacked by the Major. I struggle to believe that she would make such a story up, but then I also did not believe that she could do such a thing as commit murder.
I need a moment.
We need to piece some things together. We have another.
Cannot see the logic of this.
Ah.
Is there something I know?
Open window. None of that has any bearing at the moment. It has to be this here. Archibald was in the garden. Oh.
Come, my grace.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
What revelation?
If the only thing I found was Archibald's lighter, he must have collected something else. What else did Archibald collect from the garden? Something dropped from the window. Ow.
The pieces of the
murder
puzzle
weapon.
are finally...
Archibald dropped the murder weapon from the window, collected it, and then hid it in the secret room.
There is no use.
It was you that I saw in the garden
When you
last night.
asked me yesterday about against someone out there, I thought the game was up.
That does not explain what you were doing out there.
When Lizzie took me to the study, the knife was still in his chest, and I knew I had to get rid of it. I dropped it out of the window, knowing no one would be going outside, because it was fine for the time being, but I couldn't resist being found when the sun melted.
So you collected it under the cover of darkness and stowed it away in here, where you thought no one would find it.
After your questioning in the pantry, I knew you were onto something, and I couldn't leave it here.
And where did you plan on moving to?
Honestly, I don't know.
Collecting the item and hiding it to save Elizabeth. He must truly want to protect her from the law. We have a new on the murder. Nope.
There is no use, lie. Why what? Why I would risk everything to help Lizzie?
Exactament.
Because she's family. If you were in that position, you would do the same.
I can assure you, monsieur, I wouldn't.
Perhaps that says something about you, detective. I would do anything for her, for any of my staff.
Even if it means crossing the boundaries of the law.
Without question.
The lengths that Mr. Sterling would go to protect someone he considers family is admirable. But when those lengths break the very laws that are in place to protect the innocent, they cannot be ignored. I ask that once your morning duties for the ladies of the house are complete, Mademoiselle Brianna and yourself wait in the staff quarters.
I detective. Please, you have to help Lizzie. It was all an accident. She doesn't deserve to spend the rest of her days behind bars because of that man.
If she is behind bars, it is because that is what courts have decided upon.
Detective, you can't be so cruel.
It is not cruelty, it is the law.
Hercule Poirot is the embodiment of justice. Especially since these are the early cases, he is mostly devoid of any concepts of mercy. After all these further revelations, my mind is as busy as Monsieur Grillet's chocolate shop. I have all the pieces of the puzzle to deduce why Elizabeth killed the Major, but now I must allow my little grey cells to put them together. New map. After finding these documents in the hidden room, things are starting to fall into place as to why Elizabeth may have killed him. We have two connections. So many children.
This will not get me any closer.
Hmm. Wow.
Older and method. Magnifique.
There we go. The Major's financial struggles must have left him in a need of a source of income. Who could the Major have turned to in this time of need? The Major was desperate for a well-paying job.
I would say a lucky guess. I would say a moment of genius.
The Major needed the job to go ahead. It was the only way to guarantee money in his pocket. What could he do to ensure a job would be complete?
I must take a different They need to become clearer.
To secure his payment, the Major must have ordered the attack at the strikes. What were the consequences? The consequences of the Major ordering the first attack. Luke died.
Pieces of the puzzle are finally together.
The Major's action, unfortunately, led to the death of Luke and all for greed. Who would have been most affected by this?
I should be surprised by my own skills of deduction.
Elizabeth has probably lost more than anyone else involved. She may have sought her revenge. Let's see.
I must act on Is there something I...
Oh.
Magnifique.
This information would have destroyed his reputation if unveiled, a strong motive for blackmail. Elizabeth doesn't seem like the vengeful type, but all signs are pointing to her seeking revenge for her beloved Luke. If I am to confront Mademoiselle Elizabeth, I must be at my best, and my legendary cells at their most alert. It is time to at least try and rest. I have no time to wallow in my lack of sleep. I must confront Mademoiselle Elizabeth and hopefully finally know the truth of what took place.
Detective Poirot, I'm glad you're awake.
Bonjour, mademoiselle. It has certainly not been a night of peaceful sleep. There is something we must discuss.
Please, detective, I'm not sure I can take any more surprises like that last night.
I'm afraid since maybe it's not setting them all.
You have physics, haven't you?
I have. And the guilty party will certainly come as a shock.
Detective, please.
It was Mademoiselle Elizabeth that was behind the jailer's death.
You must be mistaken. Elizabeth could not do such a thing.
I assure you I am not. It's something I spent much of last deliberating. When you tell the flight being out of order, it made me question our conversation. I thought I heard Monsieur Stel make with the Major before connecting the topic.
But it hasn't been working all weekend.
Exactement, mademoiselle. That is when I knew I once again been lied to.
On my way to speaking with Mademoiselle Sterling, with Monsieur Sterling and Mademoiselle Rihanna, I met Mademoiselle
She was meant
Elizabeth.
to be raised his staff quarters. She has not been well.
I am afraid that was another lie, orchestrated to keep her from incriminating herself.
Why would you do that, Detective?
I only managed a word with her before we were quite abruptly interrupted by Monsieur Sterling.
I'm not needed. I had the habit of taking over the staff.
It was much more than merely disturbing a conversation. It was done with the intention to prevent Mademoiselle saying something that she should not.
So, Elizabeth killed Felix, then Archibald helped her cover it up?
In its simple form, we. I have heard directly from the horse's mouth.
Have you spoken with Elizabeth already? She has been to it?
Not Elizabeth, but Mr.
I wasn't. What were you doing in there, Detective?
It was Monsieur Sterling that found him there. I was taken by surprise to hear anyone awake at that hour.
What on earth was he doing?
He claimed he was merely reminiscing of his time with the family.
You don't believe him?
It did not take long for me to uncover the truth why he was there, and the location of Major Melvin.
Did you know of the hidden area within the storage room?
Hidden area?
A room that held all of Major's secrets.
I had no idea. Did you discover the reason for Mr. Blackmail?
I did. Well, you aware was dishonorably discharged from the army.
Dishonorably? What does that mean?
I will not hide the truth from Mademoiselle, but I will try to be as delicate as possible with the news of the Major's prior actions. I am sure you're aware of Monsieur Zachariah's troubles he faces from his time in the war.
Yes, he told me about the conversation that had. He's really quite upset.
Zachariah was absent, Major's cruelty during the war, but the extent was not known until now. He killed a number of prisoners, men that were friends of Zachariah.
Surely not. He would do such a thing. They have been trying to escape.
I am afraid not. They were in fact unarmed.
Oh, Detective.
It is the reason he was charged, denied immediate attention, and I believe the reason he fled England.
He had been such an important part of my life for so long, but I feel like I hardly knew him.
Monsieur Sterling was adamant of Mademoiselle Elizabeth's innocence.
Innocent? You said it was she that killed him.
It was her hand held in my knife, but he was quite insistent it happened in self-defense.
In all of the years that I have known her, she has barely even raised her voice. I cannot believe she would do something like that out of love.
The whole truth cannot be known until Mademoiselle Elizabeth has told her story.
I allowed my perception of her character to conceal any thought of her involvement. It seems I am not the only one. The time has come to confront Mademoiselle Elizabeth.
Do you want me to be present?
I think that is an excellent idea. I hope your presence will calm her and will perhaps allow her to speak more freely.
Please, Detective. I know she planned a terrible thing, but I beg of you to give her the time to defend herself.
I will offer Mademoiselle Elizabeth fair trials and deserves, as I would with any suspect.
Thank you, Detective Poirot.
Would you bring Mademoiselle Elizabeth to the study where we will not be disturbed?
Of course, I'll find her immediately.
I believe what Monsieur Sterling has already told me about the events that occurred between Mademoiselle Elizabeth and the Major. I do not believe she would have had to do what she did if he had not attacked her and pushed her to the point where she feared for her life. I must listen to her story, the truth, and only then can her punishment be determined.
Mademoiselle Elizabeth, merci for joining us.
Miss Haynes said you requested to see me urgently.
We have some serious matters to discuss, and I would like to waste no further time.
Yes, Detective.
How are you feeling?
I was surprised when Mr. Sterling hurried to assist Madame Vandensch last night.
I should have avoided my duties for them. How does this not stop feeling a little under that?
That is true, but you cannot be expected to complete your task if you are not in the right frame of mind.
Honestly, Detective, it was best to not sit on the mother anymore. Yes, that is where he's going to spend his last moments. Standing shoulder to shoulder with his fellow workers.
The result riots were a terrible tragedy. One that I hope we will not see or experience again. Something that could have been avoided, and the Major and his team done what was required of them.
Nobody deserved it that day. Not my Lulu.
My investigation has taken me down many paths this weekend.
Lulu's one cover for Blackmail.
The blackmailer's identity has been established. They paid a price for their crimes.
Wonderful new detective. You can all behind you now. You must be thrilled.
I would not say thrilled, knowing such a close friend has betrayed us.
Mademoiselle is correct. What I have learned over this weekend is that people are always they appear. But while they give an impression of being a friend or ally, they can in fact be something completely different.
And what if one of the Major's killer?
Well, mademoiselle, that is why I have asked you here now.
I posed the question to all the guests what their thoughts on the Major were. Now I extend that question to you.
I'm quite sure what you want to say, Detective.
Your honest opinion is asked, and chiefly, do not hold back. No one else is necessary.
We ever spoke with something that has to be done. We did not speak of interests or hearts.
You knew of his work with Monsieur de Silva?
I only know what is required to know, but it's very difficult.
But you were aware of his work as security in Monsieur de Silva's factory.
I was.
The factory your beloved worked at before he was cruelly taken from this world.
Yes, Detective.
You blame the Major for his death.
What kind of question is that?
It is a straightforward one. Mademoiselle, if there is something you wish to tell me, now is the time.
I'm sorry, Detective. I don't know how to answer it.
Let us consider what we know of the Major. He fronted the militia that attacked what was at the strike. You were aware of it? You finally had someone to blame for Luke's death. Someone conveniently located in the same house alone in his study.
No, Detective. It wasn't like that.
Tell me what happened with the Major on the evening of his death.
I was only in here trying to prove what I heard Mr. say. I was going to report it, I swear. It's a shame you believe in you.
I want to. I am still trying to understand it all myself. Why don't you start from the beginning?
I was delivering Miss Angeline's dress through when I heard Mr. Becker's arguing in the main study. They were so loud. I thought the whole house would have been listening to what they were saying. Mr. Becker talking about the factory strike and how Major stole it. He told him that if he didn't own up to his crimes, he would go to the newspapers.
Which is why the reporter was talking with him.
I cannot imagine the Major would take kindly to Monsieur Becker's threat.
He didn't. He called himself some rather uncouth name before Mr. Becker left and went downstairs. I'm not sure to have best of sight. After the altercation between Major and Master, he went to speak with him outside, and I thought I could look around his study without him knowing. I had to be sure. If it was true, he deserves to be held accountable.
And did you find the proof you are looking for?
I found it from Mr. Disco. There was nothing incriminating about that. I was so nervous. I thought my heart was beating out of my chest.
And then you saw the Blackmail.
I recognised the writing on the envelope. I believe it. How would he do such a thing to Angeline? To the family that had taken him in?
Common sense would happen. Major was another victim of the blackmail.
If I had used common sense, I wouldn't have been snooping around in his study in the first place.
Valid.
I heard the footsteps on the before I moved. The major was still standing in front of me, demanding why I was going for long without permission. I tried to come up with an excuse, but he came out, and when he saw the letter in my hand, it was like Dr. Jekyll turning into Hyde. I tried to move around towards the door, but he hurled something towards me and clicked against the wall.
The bottle.
That explains that damage a wall.
I have never been so scared in my life. I thought he was going to kill me there and then.
And you thought you would do it.
Oh, detective, you know that's the way I had planned. He lunged and grabbed me by the arm. I tried to push him away, he was too strong. His grip got tighter. Only seeing the look in his eyes, I dared not even scream. I saw the sheath on his belt. I didn't know what else to do. I didn't want to hurt him, but he wouldn't let go of me.
So you took your opportunity to put an end to it all.
I just wanted to get him off me. I didn't hurt him. I reached for it and jabbed it at him. His grip instantly loose and I ran straight out the door and didn't look back.
You did not even look to see what state had left him in.
Did she have been a detective?
Which, please, continue.
I ran down to the pantry looking for Rahana. She took one look at me and knew something was wrong. I explained to her what had happened and she'd find Archie. She said he would know what to do. We went back to the study. He was just lying there, motionless. Archie said they won't believe me. That if someone like me, someone like him, I would be sent straight to the gallows. He left the letters to find it. He said that if people knew what Major was really like, then they wouldn't care what happened to him.
So I am to believe that it was Monsieur Sterling and Mademoiselle Diana that cleaned the scene and orchestrated the plan in to take a telephone call and bring us the Major so that he may be seen. You had nothing to do with that.
I swear I had no idea this was what done. Archie just told me to stay out of sight. I'm not a criminal.
Then Mr. Sterling and Mademoiselle Diana will be charged for obstruction of justice and impede my investigation.
Please, detective, they were only trying to help me.
They wish to help you. They should have brought all this to my attention immediately instead of committing more illegal acts.
Surely you haven't forgotten what happened with Florette. She was really accused of stealing a bracelet. I killed the man.
It is I have not forgotten, mademoiselle, even for a moment.
Without your help, I stand a chance. Please, Detective Poirot, you are the only one that can help me.
Oh, Elizabeth, why didn't you come to me?
I didn't think you needed me. I felt so guilty. And when he announced yesterday he was a victim of the Blackmailer, I wanted to tell you everything. I came to find you tonight, Detective, but you stopped me. I'm so sorry.
Come, my little Grey says, let us solve this mystery. But we already know it. Investigate the murder.
Come, my little princess.
Yep. Right.
Yes.
Elizabeth's story confirms Margot's claim. The Major's death was the result of a defensive strike. Finally, I have solved the case of the Major's murder. I must admit, I take no joy in declaring Mademoiselle Elizabeth as the killer, and I wish she had never been put in such a position at all. But killing someone in self-defense is not murder. Maybe we'll speak to her once more.
Yes, Detective. I don't know where it is.
If you have been honest with me until now, I ask you to continue.
I'm sorry, I really don't know. Archie dropped it out of the study, and he said he'll deal with it. I couldn't bear to touch that thing.
I have the knife in my possession, and I believe, from Mademoiselle's reaction, she does not know what became of it. She is unaware of the efforts that Monsieur Sterling and Mademoiselle Rihanna went to mask what she had done. Monsieur Sterling was not lying when he said he would do anything for her.
Please, I was protecting myself. I didn't want to hurt him. He just wouldn't let me go.
Oui, mademoiselle. I know. Mademoiselle, it's quite a harrowing story.
I can't imagine the maid acting in such a way. But it could not make such a story.
After learning what I have about the Major's character this weekend, I would not question the length he would go to in order to keep secret hidden. I know that you share a close bond with Mademoiselle Elizabeth, but you cannot allow your personal feelings to taint your belief of what took place.
She has committed a terrible crime, but she will live with that the rest of her life. She is not a cold-blooded killer.
If what she says of the Major's attack is true, she did self-defense, and in the law's eyes, a crime has not been committed. I will do everything I can to make sure her story is heard and that a fair trial is conducted.
I believe the version of events that Mademoiselle Elizabeth has confessed to are true. The Major, having fallen into a fit of rage at the prospect of his sordid secrets coming to light, he attacked the young Mademoiselle and drove her to do what she had to protect herself. She put herself in a dangerous position, but there is a small part of me that commends the duty she felt to find justice for her beloved and the other workers that lost their lives at the Major's order. If the telephone line is now working, I must call in my findings. With the remaining snow, it may still be some time before they arrive.
Mademoiselle, this time I address the house.
Are you sure? What will you say? What have you listened?
I can assure you, they will.
Elizabeth was right, though. She's just a servant. What if they...
Mademoiselle, when the Poirot speaks, they will witness. Would you ask the guests to convene in the library?
Of course. And what is the staff?
I told Monsieur Sterling to remain in the staff quarters with the others. When the authorities arrive, they shall dealt with. You have been of great help throughout my investigation, and now that is over, I have one final request.
You want me to ask?
While I am speaking with the guests in the library, would you watch over Mademoiselle Elizabeth in my room?
You think she will try and escape, do you?
In her position, I don't know what she might try, but I trust with you there. Any potential ideas of such a thing must be squashed.
And finally, the reveal. The denouncement.
Detective, you have to spend more time making a straight for you than anything else.
Madame, if you think I have spent my time focused on anything besides covering the Major's killer, you are sorely mistaken.
I'm sure you will be eager to share your findings with them.
All in good, madame. Firstly, to understand the truth of what occurred this weekend, one must know the timeline of events that not only preceded the Major's death, but succeeded.
We are all well aware of what happened before, Detective. You can save your breath.
You are only aware of what the guilt parties wanted you to believe. Now I shall apprise you of the true events. The reason for us being here, you know. The altercation between Monsieur Lemire and the Major, you know. The body of Monsieur Hagen was found while we were all sat enjoying the delicious meal. That you also know. But what was kept from us all was that his body lay on the study floor for far longer than was thought.
It was that servant. She found them.
Monsieur. It was indeed young Inga that found the Major's body lying lifeless in the study.
So her.
Monsieur, I will not allow for any further interruptions. I return to the Major's body. If we are to believe the scene that we were presented with, the Major must have been killed during the first course of your meal that none of you left, even for a moment. Speaking in the evening, you all confirmed one another's alibis, and although there was doubt in the validity of some, I found that they were all true. What I could not understand was how a man came to be found dead, and had every guest account for at the time of death. That is until I question the latter. Mr. Bex, I shall now allow you to speak. You saw the Major smoking a cigar in snow. Is that true?
It is.
False. You saw what you want to see. Someone in the Major's coat standing outside, giving the illusion that the Major was still very much alive. Mr. Da Silva, on the afternoon of the Major's death, do you recall hearing a telephone ring?
Now that you mention it, I have not heard a single ring all weekend.
Correct. The telephone had been down for the duration of our stay, meaning the telephone call that was received and promptly directed to the Major's study was yet another act of trickery and deceit. But it did not end there. When I entered the study for the first time, it was obvious someone had already been there and falsified the scene to stage a burglary and clear away important evidence, including the murder weapon. What followed was an investigation that had already been started. But even those lengths were not enough to derail me for long.
I think we have all had enough of your self-praise, detective. Perhaps you would like to tell us who killed him now?
Madame, I'm sure you would expect it is not as simple as that. What many of you do know is the discussion that was had between Major and Monsieur Gauss earlier today.
What has that to do with anything? I told you I didn't kill him.
That is known to be true. What you do not know is that that was not only his ears that heard your spoken words.
What were you implying? I had something to do with it.
No, madame. There was another. Mademoiselle Elizabeth. You are all aware that the Major was hired by Monsieur Silva to front the security during the war strikes. What very few of you know is that it was the Major's order that instigated the vicious attacks on unarmed men and resulted in numerous deaths, including Mademoiselle Elizabeth's fiancé, Luc. Monsieur Beckers confronted the Major, declaring that he was to hand himself in. That is what Mademoiselle Elizabeth overheard. Now, knowing the truth, she waited till the Major was away from her study. After he stepped outside, following the conversation with Monsieur Denier Fist, it looked to be the perfect opportunity. So she thought. The Major turned and found her looking for the proof she required to hand over to the authorities.
If they made them up, why hadn't she been arrested?
The events that followed in the study are not those of cold-blooded murder, but one of a young girl had no other option to protect her life.
Sounds, detective, like you have taken time to this young girl would rather protest her innocence than arrest her for murder. The crime was committed.
Jeez, this is gonna make for a juicy story.
Mademoiselle, I ask you this. You have seen the Major's anger before, which...
I have.
How do you think he would react if someone to find proof that he had committed a terrible act, and that if made public would surely result in his incarceration? Exactement.
Ha! Silenced her.
The story you told, detective, but all I heard is that Elizabeth overheard a conversation blaming Major for her fiancé's death. She murdered him in revenge. A serpent, like a man that is as revered as innocent. She will face no mercy.
I am not denying that a man has lost life, but it is not the crime of murder that you all believe. While the Major did not deserve to die away, it was action towards Mademoiselle Elizabeth that drove her to defend herself any way she could. Mademoiselle Elizabeth will be punished. We will let the law decide the severity of her punishment.
She has played you like a fiddle, detective, acting the innocent victim. She will be arrested and hanged for her crime, like every other cold-blooded killer.
Here.
Give her what she deserves.
The girl has got to pay for what she's done.
They have all forgotten their own perceptions of the Major, the terrible crimes, what he has done to all of them in one way or another. Not allow for Mademoiselle Elizabeth's sentence to be negatively influenced by those in the house. I must help them see how their past actions have led to these unfortunate circumstances and loss of life. The quintessential concept of gathering all of the guilty parties into a room, sitting them down, and going through every single piece of evidence, that was all brought by Hercule Poirot to the concept of the mystery. So every other detective story that you see that uses that took that from Hercule Poirot. Perhaps I should remind them all of their participation not only in the workers' strike, but the resulting riots.
Those of you that are calling for the hanging, Mademoiselle Elizabeth, have you forgotten the roles you played? Your actions are far from innocent.
Look, detective, I see where you were going with this, but it's not going to work. So maybe the strikes were down to Silva and Becker's. But don't drag me into their mistakes.
You're the one who pressured him.
Mademoiselle Conrad, if you are so confident you are innocent, perhaps we should begin with you.
Convincing Mademoiselle Conrad to admit her involvement will be no easy feat. She is strong and deflected my questions in the past. Perhaps a more aggressive approach is in order.
You don't need to lie, it's only me that does. Ask any journalist, they'll say the same.
Even in the process, people are hurt. You knew situations surrounding strikes, and only sought to swell the angry people and create further chaos. Mademoiselle, you so often have something to say. Now is not time for silence.
You really are delusional. Maybe you should keep your theories to yourself. You obviously have no idea what goes on in my world. I would say stick on his work, but it seems it's not in your field either. Look, it's
Mademoiselle, not no time for your exit. Do you wish to state your direct involvement, or should I?
It's not. Okay, fine. Yes, the story was going nowhere. There was a deal on the table, and it was going to be done and dusted. Everything you said is true. I wanted the story. The scoop that would blow the others out of the water. I never wanted anyone to get hurt. But I can see what I did wasn't right. I didn't think you had this side in you. I can see now why Angela for you personally. You're not like our cops. It's clear it's the law, and you're doing right through and through with you. If you say it was self-defense, I believe you.
We can't just forget what that girl done. It's not Jackie's fault or any of ours. He decided to do what she did.
Mr. Beckett, you are the last person I expect to defend Mademoiselle Conrad. We talked on the last night, and correct me if I am wrong, but you have already declared the role you played. To me, at least.
Yes, talked. It's just fair if you to attack Jackie that putting words in her mouth until she succumbs to your plan.
I know enough of Mr. Beckers to know that pushing him will not yield the results I need. Playing the role of an ally may be the best way to approach him. Cynical or direct?
This is ridiculous. It was a peaceful strike. The only one that was deserved. do not think I saw the worst situation.
Monsieur Becker, you have taken words from my mouth.
Jackie was documenting everything to do with the strike. She wanted our story to be heard and want to know how I was handling the negotiations.
They were handled by yourself?
Naturally. I feel like handling simple negotiations, I am not fit to be in the position I am in. I was only pushing what my end deserved, what they needed. Hindsight is a wonderful thing. Surely you must know that. Nothing is ever simple, detective. I'm sure you understand that better than anyone. You're right, detective. I have tried so hard to deny my part, but I know well that my decisions led to the death of those men. I knew I could excuse what I've done. I just want all to know that I am not hateful or malicious man. I only wanted to prove that I was the right man. I have lived in other shadows for so long. I thought I would be able to finally step into the light and be the one that everyone remembered. No, God. But Monsieur does not offer me a deal. I turned it down. I thought I was doing the right work. It was only myself I was thinking about.
What more proof do you need? He said it himself. I made a generous offer to reach a resolution, and he turned his nose up at it.
It was not that simple, though. Oui, an offer was made, but Monsieur Becker was never have been forced into that position had their working conditions been satisfactory to begin with.
This is outrageous! You can't blame everyone for doing their jobs. I suppose it makes you feel better about yourself, doesn't it?
Although Monsieur de Silva eventually opened up, he was defensive when we discussed matters of blackmail, and that was a private conversation behind closed doors. I cannot imagine he will be forthcoming in front of the other guests. He is going to need some convincing to admit his faults again.
It may be a big deal to you, but I am used to workers not being happy with something. And most of the time, that unhappiness is directed at me. When you're in charge of your own factory, you understand. I handled the situation the best I could. If you said it anonymous. I don't know them, and it doesn't sound like me.
Monsieur Cedestin, you seem to have forgotten our previous conversations.
I recall them just fine. Do you really think this is the first time I'm blamed has fallen at my feet? Although I don't think I've seen someone try so hard before to even convince themselves of what they're saying.
Have you not learned enough already from having factories closed? If you have any hope to return to normality, you must admit your faults and accept the repercussions.
I may have been a little harsh by my staff. I only wanted to prepare them for the realities of this world. I was never given the opportunities they have today, and I succeeded. All the Jews demand more and more at the factories and house. How am I meant to keep up a good profit if everything is going to them? I offered what I could. I was willing to meet in the middle, but maybe that wasn't enough. Swallowing one's pride is no easy feat, but if it means that young girl will receive a judgment,
Admitting your responsibility is an honorable move.
What now, detective?
And now for the boss.
It's going to continue much longer. Even after your attempts, detective, Felix was still murdered. Self-defense was not choose to hide. She done because she knew what she had done was wrong, and she will be punished for it.
It was not a choice to hide anything. If in her position, I ask, what would you have done? Major has already furiously thrown an object at you, barely missing your head, and now has hold of your arm.
I would have driven a knife into him, that I can tell you for sure. She is no fool. She intended to kill, not to defend.
Welcome, Josue. Madame Van de Bosch will be a much greater challenge, but my method of approach has worked with her before. If I am to sway her into seeing Mademoiselle Elizabeth with no other option, I must persuade her that it was the Major's actions that drove her to do what she did.
Quite presumptuous of you to assume violence is in his nature.
Putting my own feelings to a Major aside, he was an honorable man, at least at some point in his life. It must have been for you to allow him in your house so many years.
Smack!
So, even you confirmed they had a history of repression.
I'm sure that is none of my business. Likewise, it is none of yours.
The Major shot and killed a number of unarmed prisoners as they were bound and terrified, posing no threat. His actions are unforgivable and should not be defended by anyone.
You judge him so harshly, but I return the question. What would you have done in his position? He had made mistakes. I will not deny that. In those moments when the decision had been made, it fell to him, and he did what he saw fit.
I ask that you consider everything you know of the Major carefully.
He was not always like that. And as I call friend would never have done what he has. I cannot allow another innocent person be punished for his vicious and barbarous behavior.
You have seen the Major in a similar manner as described before, haven't you? What was the outcome then?
You have convinced me that I am wrong in both my opinion on Elizabeth's punishment and in the friendships I keep. It is that not enough for you.
An potential crime has been committed, and I fear an innocent party may have been punished for it.
He was just a boy. I told him to stop, but he was wild.
The confrontation with Mademoiselle Elizabeth was not the first time he had come close to killing another.
It was following the officer's ball. A young man, no older than 16, stopped us on the street, begging for some change. Felix pushed away, but he wasn't persistent. He wanted a few coins. Like a flash, Felix snapped and would let go of him. He would not stop punching him. I have never seen anything so brutal.
He was never charged for the attack.
Felix called the captain at the station and said that the boy had tried to rob him, and he was merely defending himself. The boy was thrown behind bars without a second thought. It was a full week with the bruises on Felix's knuckles finally faded.
And even after witnessing such a brutal assault, you still support him. You still believe that he not attacked Elizabeth.
The days following, he showed no signs of remorse, no apology to him or to me. I blamed it on the amount he had to drink. But when we began talking about him having Elizabeth in his study, I somehow knew it had happened again.
Had you been open about the Major's temper, this could all have been avoided. When you tell the countess the truth, Mademoiselle Elizabeth's self-defense cannot be ignored.
Just when I thought I could not see the more spineless move.
Excuse me?
You allowed the brilliant thug to enter in your house and endanger your family.
Oh, this is just going to be purely delightful.
I'm so sorry, Margot, but I am struggling to understand why you have involved yourself in this affair.
I'm surprised that you can be way up there on that high horse of yours.
How dare you speak to me in that way? Who I decide to keep in my house is my decision and no one else's.
I can see that. Murder, thieves, and extortion are all acceptable, it seems.
Countess, I have talked at length of Major's death, but not the reason for my invitation in the first place. When I last gathered you all together, I spoke of a blackmail ring that was rife in the area, then of the letter that the Major had received. Mademoiselle Angeline requested my help personally after she received such a letter threatening her family name. She felt that I was the only one that could uncover the truth. And uncover the truth I have.
Get on with it, detective. Who dared try and extort my family and then have the gall to allow me to welcome into my home?
If it was not for the honesty of a young servant, I would perhaps still be linking for the cup.
For goodness sake, it was me.
How could
While it looked as though the Countess was helping young women at the shelter, she was in fact only finding the conditions of employment in wealthy homes, gathering information on them, and learn secrets that she would ultimately be able to use against them. Monsieur de Silva fell victim to her network of moles, and was young and blackmailed. It was quite the prosperous that you had. Knowing they would not be prepared to lose their social standing, the secret was to find it where it had been hidden for so long.
that cannot be true? How could you do such a cruel thing?
That is this rich coming on you.
You are one of my oldest friends.
High and mighty Madame Bush. You think and do what you wish when you wish it, and there will be no repercussions. You are bad as all of them.
If I do not get a straight out of you, I will march you to the police station myself.
I'm surprised it made Major this long to stop living with you. He must have been on the edge for some time.
That's a typo. To snap living to start.
How dare you speak to me like that? In my own home.
A home you share with the father of your daughter for so many years, and she still remains no wiser.
You have no right.
Maman,
Angeline? She has admitted to. She is merely trying to make herself.
what she says is true. Felix, you was my father. That is the secret that the letter was talking about, isn't it? You told me that we had nothing to hide. Detective Poirot, were you aware of this?
Oui, mademoiselle. That is not my place to repeat.
I don't understand. What about father?
Your mama betrayed the love of a good, honest man and played away behind back, and then kept hidden for all these years like a lady of the night with her lioness.
You Angeline, I. This is not an appropriate conversation.
He knew your girl. He knew the whole time. It is only dear Eddie that was blind and assisted.
You will not talk of him. You will not talk of him.
If I don't, who will? You never served him. You don't even deserve memory of you.
Countess, there is something that you still haven't explained.
What more is there to say?
How long ago you loved the Viscount Poirot?
Ah!
Marco? Was that true?
We were destined together. And then you turned and I was all forgotten about.
But you were nothing more than friends.
And you made sure that, didn't you? From the day you arrived, it was all about what you wanted, what you had to do to get it. You didn't consider it at all. It was just a purse.
I love my husband, and I miss him
Every day is 2 words.
Both of you, no more.
Please, let me explain.
Maman, I don't wish to hear anything else from you.
Not even your own daughter wants to realize anymore. Cassandra Van den Bosch, all alone.
How dare you!
While I feel satisfaction and pride solving both cases, there is still part of me that is reluctant to revel in triumph. I am content with the unmasking of Countess de Vos as blackmailer, and knowing that she will pay for her crimes. But it is the justice of Mademoiselle Elizabeth that worries me. She will stand in the court of law, and I can only hope that they can see she acted in self-defense. I must trust that our legal system and justice will prevail, and the fair sentencing will be given. In protecting her life, she took the life of another. Perhaps the guilt she must live with is a greater punishment than any sentence she may receive. Countess de Vos was taken from the Martinez house in cuffs and placed under arrest. Although she initially tried to plead her innocence, Inga, along with a number of other girls that the Countess had employment for, came forward and made full statements.
Fantastic.
She was charged with 5 count blackmail and extortion and sent to a house of corrections, where she will have a new life to come against us.
RIP.
Monsieur Starling and Mademoiselle Rihanna were also reprimanded for participation. While they may not be spending time in prison, covering the crime scene and obstruction of the investigation are certainly not something that houses and new employers will look positively on.
So they were released from their positions. That's unfortunate.
Mademoiselle Angeline finally became Madame Demir, and together they took up residence in England, where Monsieur Demir continued to support and fight for fairness and equality in London. I am happy to have remained in contact, and Madame Demir has become a regular correspondent of mine. And the latest joy news is that they are expecting a child
Ha.
of their own. Madame Van Bosch showed compassion that I had not seen in her before. She stood in court and gave a truthful and genuine character reference of Elizabeth, as well as describing her atrocious crime that he's committed. After Madame Van Bosch's secret was revealed to the world, her position in the social hierarchy was disappearing in a moment. While she still resides in Belgium, I believe she had to adapt to a far more modest way of life. A humbling experience for her. Following her actions come from Angel believed that her mama still had a place in her life, although they are different from Saint Laurent.
The channel.
Mademoiselle Conrad left was in her house the same day when she entered, confident in herself and audacious in her opinions. Her report of the major murder at the house and the surrounding blackmail became one of the most talked about stories of the year. However, certain details of her own involvement did not make it to print. She was quite complimentary about the detective at the heart of the case.
Ha.
Monsieur de Silva tried to continue in his position as factory owner of business on the Nern, but after his account, business dealings were investigated following the details of blackmail being made public. Mademoiselle comrade. His illustrious business empire began to crumble. He is now facing an international corporate shake.
Rip.
Monsieur Bell stepped down from his position as union leader, accepting that he was no longer fit to represent the workforce that in his world he had let down on a scale unmeasurable proportion. Although he is no longer the voice of the workers, he continues to support them from behind the scenes. Monsieur Zachary and his brother met, and returning to his family, and after sobering up, they were able to find the help that he required. I understand that he is now helping fellow soldiers with similar conditions.
That's good.
When there was Elizabeth, she stood before a court, and while the proceedings were being controversial, the charges against her were dropped, and the reasoning self-defense was accepted by the presiding judge. Madame Van Bosch's testimony, along with Mademoiselle Angeline's declaration of her character, was enough to show that it was not Elizabeth's nature to act in such a vile way. The abundant evidence against Major, violent and truthful nature, including his appalling act during the strife and the war, was more than enough to that Mademoiselle Elizabeth had no other option in that situation but to defend herself in any way that she could. With the arrival of Madame Monsieur Demio's child next year, they have agreed to give Elizabeth the opportunity to return to England and take up a position in their home as nanny.
Good.
The death of Elizabeth's beloved Duke has been at the center of everything. Had those in position to help not act with themselves in mind, perhaps he would still be alive today, and the Major would have paid the price for his ignorance in the eyes of the law, not a blade of a knife. The blood of the Major feeling again, remaining on Elizabeth's hands. A stain that wherever she is, whatever she may do, she will never be able to watch me. However, it will remain a reminder to not only her, but all of us, of what we as beings are capable of to protect ourselves. We all have things that may be considered shameful or sinful, and it is how we deal with it that shows our character. Those involved in the riots, the workers' deaths, and Major's killing, leave themselves to be unachievable. Whether it is for their social standing or their confidence in themselves, they learn that everyone is accountable for their acts. There is no exemption because of where they don't have money or back out. There is no price on a life. It cannot be bought or traded or is discarded. No man is better than another, including Detective Hercule Poirot.
I like how they said the first cases, but really it was just one. That is the whole game. Feels kind of short. I wonder if they might be adding more later. Yeah, that was the whole game.